Okay, this is our final set of notes on solving inequalities. This time we're going to focus on multi-step inequalities. We might have 2 steps to do these. The same process, we've got the same process as solving equations, like 2-step equations, except for the last step where when you're dealing with multiplying and dividing, you sometimes have to flip the inequality, right? When do you do that? Not every time, but when you multiply or divide by a negative number. So if you multiply or divide by a negative number, at any point you've got to flip the sign, flip the inequality. All right. You got that? I'm going to zoom into example 1 and just focus on that one first. And let's look at this. Think about it as a 2-step equation. Get the m by itself. We've done millions of these. Okay? To get the m by itself, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. Right? Bring down the 2m. We didn't multiply or anything yet, so we don't have to worry about flipping any signs. 9 minus 7 is 2. To get the m by itself, the final step is we are going to divide both sides by by 2 to get m by itself. And we get m is less than, what's 2 divided by 2? 1. Okay. Now if we were to graph the solution to that, what would it look like? Let's do a quick number line. M is less than 1. So here's 1. Here's 2, here's 3, 0, maybe a negative 1 on there. If m is less than 1, it can't be equal to 1, right? Open circle. And it's anything that is less than 1. That way. So that would be our solution. We could plug in to check. Let's plug in what's less than 1. How about 0? 0 is less than 1, right? What if we plugged in 0? Would it work? 2 times 0 is 0, plus 7 is 7. Is 7 less than 9? There you go. So we're on the right track. Okay. That's a 2-step inequality. Let's look at example 2. Moving it over. Again, we're going to get our variable by itself here. So we need to get rid of any adding, subtracting going on first. So how do we get rid of minus 2? Add 2 to both sides of the inequality. Minus 2 plus 2, see ya. On the left-hand side, negative 3 plus 2 is going to be negative 1, right? All we did was add on both sides. We don't have to worry about flipping any signs. It's greater than or equal to, and we bring down our whole x divided by 4, right? How do you get rid of dividing by 4? We're going to multiply both sides by 4. Times 4. Are we multiplying by a negative? Nope. So don't have to worry about flipping signs. Bring down our x. Bring down our symbol, and negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. So negative 4 is greater than or equal to x. So x has to be smaller than negative 4, or equal to it. We don't have to graph every single one, but you should be able to. You need to know how to graph those if we need to look at it visually. Okay, let's go to example 3. All right. This is a little bit of a trickier one. We're going to get the x by itself, but first we've got to get rid of adding, subtracting, right? This negative 4 needs to go. So how do we get rid of negative 4? Add 4 to each side, right? Minus 4 plus 4 goes bye-bye. But be careful, because now what do we bring down? We haven't practiced this in a little while. We're bringing down that whole negative x now because there's nothing in front of it. The minus x is like a negative x. So negative x comes down, keep our symbol here, and 2 plus 4 is 6. Now at this point, okay, you've got to think about that negative x as how many x's is it? It's really negative 1x, right? Negative 1x. So isn't that negative 1 times x? How do we get rid of negative 1 times x? We would divide both sides by negative 1. Okay, so negative 1 divided by negative 1 would go away. We'd bring down our x. But now we're dividing by a negative, so what do we have to do? We have to flip that inequality. It's got to go the other direction. And 6 divided by negative 1, positive divided by a negative is a negative. In these cases, guys, you absolutely do have to show dividing by negative 1 on both sides. We can't just flip both numbers as we were able to do in the past. Go back to this and show you. If we just said, hey, if negative x is here and that's a positive 6, when that was an equal sign, we could just say, well, then x has to equal negative 6, right? But since this isn't an equal sign anymore, we can't just change both of those signs, because what do we also have to do? We have to flip the direction of this guy. So you need to show it mathematically and remember to do the flip. Cross that guy out. All right, last one on the top here. Let's get rid of that minus 9 first by adding 9 to both sides. And bring down what's left. X divided by negative 3 is less than, what's negative 7 plus 9? How about 2? And now last thing to get rid of is this divided by negative 3, so we're going to multiply by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3, see ya. Bring down our x. But because we multiplied by a negative, what do? Flip the sign the other direction. And a positive times a negative is going to be a negative 6 in this case. So our solution to this inequality is x can be anything that's bigger than negative 6. All right. Very last one. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole question about a charity walk. Okay, this would be something that you're doing for charity, like a Relay for Life. A lot of people do a charity walk. You want to raise at least $500 for the charity. There's that at least, right? That tells us it's going to be an inequality. At least it's going to be greater than or equal to $500. You already have $175 by asking people to pledge $25 each. How many more $25 pledges do you need? So we're going to write that inequality. Let's just do it right up here. We've already got what? What do we have? We have 175 from people already donating. We want more people to pledge us $25 each. So we want to add more to our total. And if one person pledged $25, we'd add 25, right? If 2 people, we'd do 25 times 2. 3 people, 25 times 3. So we're trying to figure out how many people. It's going to be 25 times P. That's our number of pledges, our people that are pledging. So 25 times P. And that money has to be at least $500. At least means it could be bigger, but it has to at least be equal to $500. Greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. All right, so let's go ahead and solve it. I guess I should have just written it down here, so it was already down there to solve, right? Move it up a little bit. I'm going to get rid of the adding subtracting first. Now there's a 175 there. How do I get rid of 175? Can I just take it away from each side? Bring down our 25p. We didn't multiply or divide by anything. Don't need to worry about flipping the sign. Okay, 500 minus 175, so that would take you down to 400, and then another 75, so 325. And then we need to divide both sides by 25. Are we dividing by a negative? Nope, so there's no sign flipping. And then let's just make sure here. Can we see that on there? 325. Oops, 325 divided by 25. 13. So P, our number of pledges, our people, have to be greater than or equal to 13. You can say pledges, 13 people. We have to have at least 13 more people to get to our goal of 500. Right? Could you have more than 13? Sure, you'd just have more than $500. That's great. And there's our solution. All right, so now you're going to practice some 2-step or multi-step inequalities on your own, and you might write some too.